Ladies, do you feel like he was breadcrumbing you? Do you feel like he's just giving you just the right amount so you won't leave? Well, in episode number 197 of Making the Case, we talking about why he giving you the bare minimum. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up, YouTube? We back at you with another episode of Making a Case, episode number 197. I am your host, Dr. Jacob Isom. We got two channel norms over here. One, we attack points in our people. Then two, we don't do all that cussing, derogatory stuff. We like to keep it professional over here. Before we get into the episode, I want to say shout out to my new subscribers, man. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. And we reaching all the way to Africa, man. Shout out to you. And yes, you right. I do need to put up some Malcolm X and actually Martin is in this picture back here, and I know you probably can't tell with Obama and Nelson Mandela. But you're right though, right? It's a lot of our fallen heroes that I need to put on this wall. But I will say this: actually, moving forward here pretty soon, I'm gonna change the whole look of my setup here. So you're gonna be looking at some a little bit more contemporary, more modern. So just FYI, all right. But let's get into today's episode. We're talking about why men will give women the bare minimum. Okay, now there are a couple of different reasons, like I said, or like I always say with my episodes that the video clips are kind of going to go in a little bit deeper so we can have that conversation. But I just always want to throw in my 2 cents here and there, right? But for starters, I would say a man will give you the bare minimum because he's in it for sex, right? He's not in it for the long term. He's in there for the short term, right? So he'll give you just enough attention. He'll take you out just enough or do just enough to please you emotionally, whereas he can keep you around and he has access to your body, right? That is one reason why he might give you a bare minimum. But two, let's say if you happen to be in a relationship, right? Now he's figured out that he doesn't have to buy the cow, right? That's just not only include marriage, but it's the fact that, well, I only have to do this much to keep her happy and satisfied. So I'm going to keep doing that. She's not asking me to step up. She's not asking me to do more. So guess what? I'm going to be cool in this lane right here. And I'm going to do just enough to keep her happy so that she won't go nowhere. That may be another reason a man give his bare minimum. Okay. So I have some clips for you that's going to dig a little bit deeper. And we're going to go from there. All right. Let's have a conversation, as I like to say. All right. So without further ado, let's get into our first clip.
Women and we dating women, right? Like if the bar is on the floor, why would I jump for the ceiling to get over it? Sadly, right? And I get it. I understand. I just wanted to. Sadly, like the more women have elevated, and they have, women making more money than they ever have. It's more business owners than ever been. They more educated than they ever have. But ironically, the higher they elevated, the bar don't come with them a lot of times.
Talk about it.
And that right there is the issue. It's too many who not qualified to be with y'all, who constantly get let into the arena, right? So as a man, when I'm approaching you, I'm thinking about incentive. What incentive do I have to do better if I'm getting 98% of the benefits with you giving half effort? So until that bar raises, we're going to see more of those type of men. And that's just the harsh reality of this.
And shout out to Trill, by the way. I agree with 98% of what he just said, right? The only 2% is I have I don't want to say an issue, the whole qualify, right? Just because you have advanced degrees doesn't mean you're intelligent, right? Just because you have a lot of money, now that may mean that you can hold out for somebody that had just as much. We understand that a man with money and a woman with money is not equivalent. So that's why we got to be careful with that qualifier word, right? So when you're talking about raising the bar as he did, right? Well, yes, women can say, because I make this amount of money, I have this going on and that going on, that yes, I can raise my standards. when it comes to the type of men. And yes, women do let men in that probably shouldn't be there. But guess what? They was letting those type of men in when they didn't have the money and the degrees, right? So it's more so not who they qualify for, it's more so what is the character of that man, right? What type of personality and temperament does that man have? That's the conversation that we should be having, right? Because what we've done is we've allowed the money conversation, right? The college degrees conversation to cloud our judgment to think just because we have those things that that's going to make a person a good person. No. And a lot of times it makes a person a pretty mean person, right? So let's have a conversation. But for the most part, I agree. Women do have a bar set pretty low. Okay. So let's get to the next clip.
Minimum in a relationship for you. Let me break it down for you real quick. Taking a woman out on dates, bare minimum. Buying her flowers, bare minimum. Posting her on social media, that's just basics, man. Holding the door open, pulling out her chair, those are bare minimum acts of respect. Some of y'all might say, oh, that's simping. Nah, that's just showing respect and making your woman feel appreciated. See, if I'm with a woman, I'm gonna treat her like a queen. Why? Because I want to marry her one day, spend my life with her, give her the best I can. That's not doing too much. That's just how it should be. Too many folks get comfortable in relationships. They stop doing the little things. They take their partner for granted. But listen, she could leave anytime. She could find somebody who'll do all those things without thinking twice. So treating a woman right, that's the bare minimum, y'all. Show her she's special every day. Keep that energy up, because when a woman feels valued, she'll. Ladies, what is bare minimum?
All right, even though that was AI assisted, but I'm not even going to speak. I'm going to put Steve Harvey aside, right? We just because remember we attack points in our people. We're going to speak on what was said, right? I will say this: she can leave even if you are doing those things. So that's not the things that's going to keep her around, right? So, and the reason why men see when we courted, we used to do things like that. But what has happened is the game done changed, right? It has evolved. Now, unfortunately, women are sleeping with more men than they ever have. Women are dating more men than they ever had, right? So they're experiencing more men, right? When they didn't used to. And so now men don't feel like they should give those behaviors because, well, you already getting those behaviors for 2 or 3 men. Why I'm gonna do that knowing that you're out there dating multiple people, right? So part of the reason why men may give the bare minimum is the fact that, well, I know you out there seeing other men, right? So I'm only gonna give you the bare minimum until I understand that, well, maybe you might possibly be mine and we can make this thing official, right? So that is part of the conversation. We can't ignore that, right? But once again, like we keep talking about, well, that I don't agree with that is the bare minimum, that is the basic flowers and stuff like that. Well, because we got to think what's the flip side. Because for too long, men have been doing this chivalry thing, right? With okay, but what is the man getting in return, right? We just supposed to do it because we men? No, that ship have long sailed, right? So it has to be reciprocal. Okay. So a lot of times the bare minimum might be until I figure things out and figure out who you are. All right. Let's go to the next clip.
A lot of times when I hear about the conversations around like the bare minimum in dating, right? The conversations always are around what this person can do for you rather than who they are, right? The bare minimum, I think, personally, should have nothing to do with what can this person provide. How are they showing up rather, but more about who are they, right? Because who they are is going to show you what they can actually provide more than what they're going to, how they're going to show up, right? Because you can show up however you want in the first like few months and become a different person, right? But who you are, you can't really, take that too much. So you're asking the wrong questions. You know what I mean? So I think that
And I get what he was saying, even though he wasn't the most articulate, but I get he's saying that most people look at bare minimum as just the actions, right? Where are we going? What you're doing for me, right? Versus who is that person really inside? What is their character, right? What is their attitude like? Which I actually agree, right? So to me, the bare minimum would be like, okay, how do you approach things, right? So when it comes to because let's be honest, right? Doing things for somebody is part of a relationship. It's part of dating, right? But you have to understand that, right? When people have different standards, right? So if one person looking at this like, well, I only do this, right? And of course, we know the more money that somebody make, the higher their standard is going to be, right? And so y'all have to be, on the same wavelength when it comes to, well, what are y'all standards, right? Because that's going to determine what is bare minimum and what is not. But what he was trying to get at is the fact that, well, I need to know that you're going to keep a certain standard for the long haul. You're not going to change up on me because you're trying to bring this representative, which I actually agree with, right? Because really the conversation is not about bare minimum, it's about a standard that can be maintained. All right. We got one more clip. All right. We're going to wrap this up.
Needs that don't make you too needy and are the bare minimum if someone actually wants connection and trust with you. Number one, consistent communication. This is someone who makes a plan if they're going to be busy. They don't just disappear for days with no explanation. They follow through, they text or call regularly. This is not too much to ask from someone who is supposed to be building something with us. This is just called being reliable. Number two, the need for respect. No relationship will be mutually fulfilling if one person tries to hold all the power and looks down their nose at the other. We don't have time for people who think they can speak with belittling or demeaning language, constantly critical, and get away with it. If they don't respect you, that's a non-negotiable. Respect doesn't mean obedience, it simply means equality. I treat you how I would like to be treated. Three, the need for emotional responsiveness. Dr. Sue Johnson says that this is the glue that holds all relationships together. This is what makes or breaks everything. Being emotionally responsive means intentionally stepping into each other's inner world and being a safe place for your partner to be vulnerable about the things that matter most to them. We do that by staying curious and empathetic. Do you make it evident that you are trying to understand them, or are you just waiting for your turn to speak? Number four, the need to repair after conflict. It's not usually the fights that destroy the relationship, it's the inability to repair. How do we repair? By humbling ourselves and asking, what can I take accountability for in this? How can I empathize with how my words or actions affected them? And then asking them, what do you need to feel connected and safe again? Four relationship needs that don't.
And I agree with all four of those. I probably would have took out emotional responsiveness and I would have added honesty in there. Because if you are, because I I talk about this all the time, right? Um, we all live with truths and we all live with lies. Okay. But the more honest that you can be with yourself, the more honest you can be with somebody else. Right. So you have to have somebody who's willing to not only tell the truth to themselves, i.e., then they'll tell the truth to you. Right. So that honesty piece is very important. Right. You can kind of say honesty / transparency. But no, I agree. How you handle conflict, how you communicate, all that stuff is extremely important. And of course, particularly respect for a man, he has to have that, right? So those are the bare minimum. And that's the reason why I kind of want to end with that video because, like, when we talk about it in any type of relationship, romantic, friendship, business wise, hey, those are key, right? That is the bare minimum. Because what we're talking about is can you communicate? Is the respect there, right? Do I have, a space to be emotional and to say my piece, right? So, and can we handle conflict? So those are absolutely the bare minimums when it comes to relationship. All right, we're gonna end the episode with that, man. Hopefully, hey, you got something from the conversation. I thought it was a great conversation, but once again, hey, thank you. Hey, keep rocking with me. Keep supporting. I appreciate you, man. Make sure you like the video. It costs you nothing. Hey, support the channel, man. Share it out, man. Tell people to subscribe, man. Because I just feel like, this content, it helps. You know what I mean? At least that is my goal to, bring a different perspective to the game that may not be shared as much as it should be. All right. So With that being said, I'm you and me. Love always, love return. Remember, the worst thing you can do is lie to yourself. And we out. Deuces. One love.